My name's Tracy. I'm a registered nurse, have been for 30 years. When I joined the Masters at Hull York, I was a clinical nurse educator within an NHS trust, and currently now I'm a practice nurse educator within primary care.
And why did you choose to study the implementation science module?
Probably because I didn't know much about it. I hadn't really heard of implementation science as a concept within education, and I wanted to learn more, wanted my knowledge to be expanded and developed, and I was up for a bit of a challenge.
So what was your experience of the module? What do you think you've gained from it?
Masses. I really enjoyed this module. This is my fourth module on this master's course, and I've really enjoyed this content of this one. I liked the Q&A discussions, bite-sized teaching and learning. Loved the discussion and where the discussion board and where the guest speakers on the Q&A were involved in that. It felt much more interactive. I liked the tutorials that you as our course leader did with us. That was great. And I felt much more connected as a student in this module than I have with the other ones.
And that's very good to hear. How do you think it may help you in your future career?
I didn't really understand how it was going to help me until I got perhaps halfway through the module, when I realised that it was incredibly relevant to what I was actually doing, actually giving me the confidence and the foundation skills to organise a policy brief of some change that I wanted to do within primary care, and as my role as an educator, how to develop and improve patient experience and interconnect the whole team. So I thought that was fantastic. And actually learning how to properly implement something with like a strategy, an idea, with the theory-based knowledge behind it, it gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of enthusiasm, I think, to kind of like jump in with a more of a systematic approach rather than a kind of like, you know, fluffy in the head approach that I was currently thinking of.
Okay, do you have any thoughts or comments on how the module worked with your other commitments in work and in life?
That's a really hard one, because when we all work full time and we do shifts and we're doing extra hours, long days, it's actually really difficult to try and fit in learning and being enthusiastic. I think the implementation science was slightly easier to work around my life schedule and work schedule because of the bite-size Q&As and the tutorials, and I just felt a little bit more connected with the module. There wasn't that kind of like focus on a long one whole study day, which there was no way that I can get an extra day off work. So in that sense, I found it much more easy to do. I think there was a lot of background reading, and because it was a new experience for me and a new topic, there was a lot of reading to do. And I suppose that was the most difficult one, was to actually find the time to read the many articles and books and chapters and things to actually give me the, you know, the knowledge and the skills to do the module.
And finally, do you have any tips or any advice for prospective students?
I think for me it was more, first of all, I wanted to do the implementation science because I didn't really know much about it. A couple of weeks into it, I thought, what was I doing? And then as I was getting into it, it was like, yes, I'm glad I've done it. And it was a challenge and a massive learning curve for me, because it was something unknown. And I think people perhaps would be a little bit apprehensive about doing something more unknown, but I would encourage people to jump in with both feet, because it does expand your knowledge into an area that then you might find out that's absolutely relevant to what you're doing in your job. I think as well about focusing on what you're reading. It's quite easy to just get stuck down a rabbit hole, which I did a couple of times, of reading something that led you to something else that perhaps wasn't as relevant. And I had to keep coming back to focus. And I think if somebody had said that to me as a tip, yes, there's lots of interesting reading, but try and focus on what you're actually doing to make it relevant. That would have been perhaps a little bit more useful for me.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Tracy.
That's okay. Thank you.